Yes, thank you very much. It is very useful. In another question, sir, the probiotics about the mastitis treatment. How much you recommend it, and how much it is useful?
I think I don't. I'm someone who is not really very fond of probiotic.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay, so that would require a separate discussion, because I don't want to tell you anything without evidence with me. So if there is
Yeah,
a
thank.
chance, then I can also show why I am saying so. It doesn't look
Oh,
good
okay.
just making a general statement, but I'm not very fond of probiotics. I usually don't want to introduce anything in animal's body which is not its natural inhibitor, whether
Oh,
it is yeast or either anything else. Why should I introduce something new in the environment, and that becomes an enemy of which are natural inhabitant. It's like a foreigner you are introducing into a country and others don't like him.
yes, you're right. You're right. Sir, so because I in one study in Buffalo, we're seeing that the in Buffalo usually the oxytocin is used more for milking. You know,
Yeah.
in much more time. So do you think if we are using oxytocin sometimes or frequently in cows, it can increase the prevalence of subclinical mastitis or mastitis like this?
Oh, I don't know its association with subclinical mastitis, but I don't like using oxytocin. Once in a while it's okay, if you want to ensure complete emptying. But I'm not really pro oxytocin, for simple reason that body is already secreting oxytocin. The problem is you are not stimulating secretion. So stimulation at the time of lactation for secretion of oxytocin is important, and that is what needs to be emphasized. But once in a while giving oxytocin is also not bad, because oxytocin is something which is endogenous. It's not something new which we are asking. But the problem is, if you want to use it for letting down repeatedly, then animal becomes used to exogenous source of oxytocin and will not secrete endogenous oxytocin. So then it will become dependent on exogenous oxytocin, which you'll have to keep on injecting. The way oxytocin is available, oxytocin is actually a very expensive drug, even in human, which a dairy farmer will not be able to afford. But the way oxytocin is produced in the market, available for veterinary, is in a very unhygienic environment. It's not oxytocin; it's actually an extract of posterior pituitary, and we don't know what kind of other things they are using, in what circumstances they are manufacturing it. So you are introducing a lot of infections, other things. So I want to avoid. I would ask them to sit for half an hour, 15 minutes more, stimulate, find out what it gets to stimulate. In case of buffaloes, if calf is not there, then this problem usually starts. So you need to focus more on stimulation of which. Then there are few papers. One, there is Dr. Thomas has done a lot of work with Uppsala University on oxytocin release, and they have found that physical stimulation of teeth for 10 to 15 minutes is good enough to release oxytocin. But all these farmers don't want. Everybody is in haste nowadays. Nobody wants to spend time with animals. They want to finish it in 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you. And what is about the dry cow therapy? How much it is popular in the village level or house in the small holding farms level in India?
Uh, See, it's catching up in urban farms. There were actually two problems. Number one, dry cow therapy was not available in the country.
Okay, yeah.
So people at the time of drying of cow were using the lactating formulation, which was not really sufficient. Then there is dry cow. One company has started marketing. International company has started marketing, and I think it has not been properly popularized and put into a system of preventive health management. For preventive health management formulation, you need a different kind of drive to make it popular, compared to the clinical. vets are more interested in clinical because they want to go inject and next day the animal is treated. That glamour is different. But when you want to do it for preventive, then there are lots of other issues. So it needs to be taken up as a as a strategy by the vets, understanding that it is going to be useful to the farmers. uh, it's not it's not really very popular even in India, and we are now trying to develop even dip is not very popular here.
Yes, sir, but it's very, very important for the dairy sector to having the tit dipping and dry cow management, everything.
Yeah, and in
Taking
one
care of it.
survey, I found that around 60 to 70% of the vets who will go to the farmer for treating clinical case of mastitis would not advise for T-tipping. See, the problem is so acute. If a vet is called for, and I'm talking of my own little bit of experience which I have. Don't want to generalize it to everybody, but the situation is such that people don't have time, and if the vet is called in the in the farm for treatment of a case of mastitis, he want to look at only udder. He will come and look only at udder,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
that too
yes.
affected udder. He won't he would not look want to look at the whole animal. Take temperature. Mastitis. Give intravenous. Finish. He's off. That is
Yes.
the that is the problem. We need to have that holistic approach of finding out why it is happening. Can it be prevented? These are two questions which for a vet is very important to ask to the farmer.
One more question to Bangladesh. I have seen that in the most of the practicing veterinarian in the field, when they apply antibiotic for the intermammary infection or mastitis, most of them usually prefer to inject the antibiotics intramuscularly. They prefer because it is very used to. So that's where if you want to make a comment, because the route of administration of the drug is very, very important for the recovery. So
Okay.
most of the time they prefer the intramuscular route for the
Okay.
mastitis treatment. I have seen in many,
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah. And that's the reason why so many companies have intramammary preparations available in the market. Okay. Uh, the advantage of intramammary intramammary administration of a drug is that you are targeting your antibiotic to specific tissue, whereas if you are giving parenteral, then the drug is going to be distributed even to other parts of the body, so
Yeah.
several compartments drug is going to reach. So that is one issue. Number two problem with intramammary infusion is that how much of that is really getting absorbed through the epithelium, and how much remains in the teeth system. If you look at anatomy and the way the drugs are absorbed, I don't think much of it will be absorbed into the system, and therefore if there is infection, where there is infection in mastitis, is it in the teeth system, or it is in the epithelium which is lining the teeth system inside the cell? So that would decide whether your intramammary preparation is going to be useful or not. Because if it is going to be in intracellular, your drug has to get inside the cell, and if it has to get inside the cell, it has to cross that lipid bilayer of the cell, and there are many drugs which do not cross that lipid bilayer, and therefore your drug concentration will not reach epithelium. So if you are very sure that it is not intracellular, it is there only in the teeth system. And then number two question is, if you are able to follow all hygienic precautions for giving intramammary infections, you have a crate. Can you restrain animal properly? Can you wash? You have sufficient availability of, and then can you safely introduce, and then animal is not going to dance at the time of giving intramammary preparation, otherwise you are going to damage with this stellate which you are going to introduce. So these are all questions which you need to consider while doing this. And I find that in 95% of the situation, I mean, we don't have. I mean, the situation over here is not that good for giving intramammary infection, and the basic problem is docility, docile. Our animals are not docile as Danish animal. In Danish animal, you can go and put your hand on the teeth and introduce it. It will not even shake its tail or leg. Very comfortable. Over here, you know, try to put your hand in it, it will start, you know, dancing. So docility, you know, issues are there. So it all depends on, you know, so many things. But I personally prefer a parenteral injection over an intramammary infection, for simple reason that even if there is infection in other organs like lungs, uterus, and other, these are the three main organs where you may have a satellite infections and maybe extension of each organ. You will take care of other infections also.
That's a
I
clear
don't
cut.
want to make very general statement. I'm giving some qualifying criteria to it. So no, you have to meet that qualifying criteria and then decide whether you want to do intramammary or you want to go for parental. So as I have said earlier, if it is acute case of mastitis, I want to give intravenous, at least 2 injections, so that, you know, I flood the antibiotic to the inflamed tissues and I take care of infection, and then follow it by intramuscular. Then again check whether there is hypothermia. If animal is cold because of you know, the toxins which is produced in acute mastitis, there is no point giving intramuscular because hypothermia has resulted in perivascular failure. So your drug is not going to, you know, be cleared and taken into blood and other. So there again intravenous. So these are all very basic and important points which a vet need to evaluate, you know, before administering and taking a decision on what drug is to be used and, you know, what is route of the drug which is to be